You're listening to Women in Sports, a weekly conversation with the legends, rising stars, and athletes making history in Minnesota and beyond. This episode brought to you by Franzen Bank and Trust. Welcome to the Women in Sports podcast. I'm Marielle Mose. Today we are talking to someone who has paved the way truly for women's hockey and has really brought the sport to where it is today. Natalie Darwitz is here with us today. She is an Eagan native. She played for the Golden Gophers, and she helped lead that team to 2 back-to-back NCAA championships. You also played for the Olympics, Team USA, where you competed in 3 Olympic Games. Just last year, you entered the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, your resume is stacked. And now you are leading the team behind a brand new project that's celebrating the state of hockey. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So as I just mentioned from that intro, you're basically Minnesota hockey royalty. How did you first fall in love with this sport?
Oh, goodness. I feel like everyone has a story and it started when they were young, and I'm a product of my surroundings. So I was the youngest of 2 other siblings. I had an older sister and an older brother. And naturally, the third, I feel like you either have to make a decision where you're going. You're going with mom and sister to tap dance, or you're going with dad and Ryan to hockey. And I was like in my dad's and brother's vehicle and strapped in and ready to go to the rink. And I just was a little rink rat from day one, and I just always carried a stick in my hands. At that time, I didn't see any ponytails on the ice. But I wasn't looking at that. I was just looking, I want to play, I want to get out there. And I was persistent enough with my parents to say, Ryan gets to play hockey, why can't I?
I love that.
And so they kept trying to deter me, push me out. Maybe on your 5th birthday we could talk about it. In the meantime, my mom would throw me in more tap dancing classes. And I remember we weren't in the social media have a phone at your disposal era with the camera. But there was one photo I remember growing up where I was in tap dancing in my leotard, and I was like, Not having it.
Pouting.
And my mom was like, but you're so good. And I'm like, I don't like it, though. And I'm an October birthday, and I woke up on my 5th birthday and said, I get to play hockey now. And they gave in, and the rest was history. So that's kind of how the journey started.
I'm an October birthday, too.
Nice.
What's the date?
13th.
Okay, 19th. Love it. Libra
Yep.
sisters. Here we go. So as you mentioned, you didn't see a lot of ponytails on the ice, but at what point did you know that you could make hockey a career? Because back then, there wasn't a pro league yet. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of hype around women's hockey in general. I mean, it just became a sanctioned sport in Minnesota like 31 years ago, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is. I think when you're young, you just love doing what you're doing. And for me, that was hockey. So I didn't have my sights set on anything. I just knew that when I woke up in the morning, I was like, when do I get to go to hockey? I think it became a reality that I could make something special when it became a Division I sport. And then you heard of like the Winnie Broats getting scholarships and the Curtins getting scholarships. And then the University of Minnesota, they had a team and with Title IX and all that. So that's when I realized, and I was probably 13, 14. And then the next part of it was Olympics. The women's hockey started in the Olympics in 1998. The U.S. actually won gold. I was a 14-year-old. So I remember going, so there could be a path. Because when I grew up, I imagined myself in the NHL. Because I didn't know any different. I didn't know that girls couldn't play in the NHL. And so I think when I was 13, 14, it became a realization that there was a future after playing high school hockey. I could possibly go to college, get an education, play college hockey, and then the highest level possible was the Olympics. Ironically enough, I made my first national team the next year later, so I was a 15-year-old. So then I think it was like, okay, here am I. It became from dreams to here's my path. If I want to play at the highest level possible, I'm on the path. I got to keep, improving. I got to keep challenging myself, and that it could become a reality one day.
So incredible you made it to the Olympics. I mean, that's such a rare company to be in. Was that your this is it moment, or was there another moment prior to that where you were like, this is it?
I think even till this day, the Olympics is the pinnacle of women's hockey. That's the highest level you can get, is represent your country and be one of 23 athletes, whatever the roster number may be these days. But I think that's the pinnacle of our sport. At that time, again, there was no professional league. So for me, it was I made an Olympic team and skated on my first Olympic sheet of ice when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
That was pretty rare. Like, you're not seeing 18-year-olds. It's
No.
An anomaly these days. So for me, I think that was a moment where, I don't think people realize the path it took to get there. Like, I left home when I was 16 years old, and we trained out of Lake Placid, New York. So we all know Minnesotans are homebodies, so to leave home is like a scary thing
100%.
to begin with. And now my parents are sending, their youngest daughter over to Lake Placid. And it wasn't just I was just playing hockey. Now I'm in an Olympic situation where I'm in a tryout situation. It's stressful. It's cutthroat. I'm with players that some of them are 10 years older than me.
Wow.
And so I really had to grow up really, really fast. Go away from home, not only that, but now you're in a cutthroat environment of making an Olympic team. You're seeing teammates get cut. Every day you're kind of vying for your spot to make that team. And then, again, you're in the locker room with peers that are not your age. So it was. I wouldn't have had it any other way. It was perfect. Like I said, I think you're a product of your surroundings, and things happen for a reason. I was the youngest of two siblings. My brother and sister educated me real quickly how to grow up throughout the course of our childhood. So I did it. It made me better. It made me a better person. It made me grow. And at 18 years old, I mean, it's a cool experience. I was very fortunate enough, too, that 2002 was in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
So not only was I going to the Olympics, it was in our backyard. It was easy for family and friends to get to. We had a great contingent coming from Minnesota, family and friends. So I think the aha moment was, you hear about it being a team sport, and even though you're out there, it took an army for you to get out there. It took mom and dad traveling and sacrificing. It took a lot of other people sacrificing and coaching and resources, like to look up in the stands in our first game and warm-ups and kind of wave to that contingent in the corner. It was pretty emotional. And it becomes more about, it's not about you, it's about an army that backed you and supported you and went above and beyond to help you out.
Yeah, God, I cannot imagine that POV you had in that moment, like being on the ice and looking up.
Yeah.
Being like, I'm an Olympian representing my country, and there's my whole family and support system. You mentioned sacrifices, though. Like, to be 16 and 18 and in that position, did you sacrifice a lot of your, like, pivotal high school years to
100%.
for hockey?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I look at my brother and now, like, a lot of their close friends are still their high school friends. Like, I was gone majority of my junior year and majority of my senior year. So I missed out on a lot of that, those homecoming days, right? And a lot of the dances and a lot of just the social aspects. Again, I had to grow up really fast because of the locker room I was in, the surroundings, and the environment I was in. I could navigate an airport at 16, 17 years old by myself, right?
Impressive.
And so I had to grow up really fast. But the flip side was I was missing out on some social aspects. But what made it really cool was I was on track to start college at the U of M my freshman year as a normal 18-year-old. So then I got to jump back into my grade level and peers that were the same age. And so it all worked out. But it's funny. I tell the story of, after the Olympics were over, I think I had like 3 weeks off until the third try started at Egan High School. And then I had to go back to school. And so I remember the first couple of days, I literally walked out of class to go to the bathroom. And the teacher's like, Natalie, excuse me, like, you need to ask.
Like,
I need to give you a hall
pass. I'm an adult now. I can do whatever I want.
Right? So I went from this, like, grown-up, environment for the last 2 years of, and being around people and doing all these adult things to now I'm thrown back into an environment where I got to ask to go to the bathroom. Yeah. And so it was a little bit of an adjustment getting back to the reality and normalcy with my own peers and being in school again and having to raise my hand. So, but again, it makes it all the story worthwhile, I guess.
100%. I mean, you definitely had a unique high school youth growing up, but it all panned out because it led you to where you are today, which, fast forward, you're now the CEO of the Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame, which is a brand new project that you are leading the team, leading the charge on. Can you kind of tell me why you wanted to get involved in this project in the first place?
Yeah. When I was approached last year about it, the development group was like, hey, we don't have a Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame. We would love to get one going. And I literally was like, we don't have one. Like, how crazy is that? That the state is woven by the fabric of hockey, and we care so much about it. And we have such a story to tell, and so many people that have paved the path and have created a legacy and have made the game better. And we don't have a place to tell that story. So at that time, I love hockey. You know, I feel like I have strengths in the field with my career, and when I was able to do that, and it was funny too. It was, I think the gentleman who approached me was like, "Well, you're in a couple Hall of Fames. I think you're pretty qualified if you want to run one." And I was like, "Well, I guess so." And so it just got me really excited. You know, I think this is something for the state that once it's up and running, they're gonna forget that it hasn't existed forever. And we simply want to highlight all the stories in the communities that have paved the way and have historical impact in our great sport, in our great state. And so I think it's a one-of-one legacy project. We're really excited about it. We're really excited to go out and not only share the stories of the legends of the games like a John Mayasich or a Lou Nanny, but we want to share the community stories of maybe the Zamboni driver who kept the lights of the rink open longer so the little boys and girls could skate longer. Or maybe it was the hockey mom who fundraised to get a second sheet of ice. We want to tell those stories, and we want to be that vehicle, the Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame, to showcase those stories. And we want to hit every inch of the state we can and highlight that. Not only that, we want to grow the game. That's huge to us. So we're going to have a rink, and then we're going to have a multi-purpose venue that are going to, obviously be for the induction galas, but obviously have other hockey events related to, and just make the Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame a one-stop shop hub for the great sport of hockey in the state.
You said you were confused. You're like, wait, I thought we already had, we don't have one?
Yeah.
And I think people right away when they heard the news about this got confused because they're like, well, what's up in the Iron Range right now?
Yep.
And I'm going to butcher the name of the city. I do every time, which I hate because I'm a Minnesota native.
Eveleth.
Yep. I was about to say Elevith.
Yeah.
Eveleth.
Eveleth,
So what's the difference between what's in Eveleth and what you guys are building?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions is the Hockey Hall of Fame in Eveleth is the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. So I think there's confusion because there's obviously a tremendous amount of Minnesota representation in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. Someone drove past it last summer, and I was, hanging on the outside of it, and it's like I'm a part of that. Huge pride, huge honor, but that's the U.S. That's the entire United States of America, and everybody from the East Coast and West Coast going into that. Ours is simply Minnesota. We have a story to tell about all, the 65 NHLers who have hoisted the Stanley Cup. They have a story to tell about. We're going to have 5 wings, so it's going to be a community wing that obviously grassroots hockey, a high school hockey wing, which I don't need to talk about how big it is here and that we sell out, the NHL venue, and you have to be on a waiting list to get tickets. And then it will have a college wing. We have 30 NCAA programs alone in this state. In some other states, that's more than they have community teams.
Wow.
And so the data's there that we are the state of hockey. And we want to showcase that. Then the other 2 wings are obviously professional and international, so Olympic. And so we have so much history and story to tell. Not only that, we want to inspire, the little boys and girls coming up and, impact them and give them opportunity to grow the game and to have the resources to do that with our sheet of ice.
Talk about that, because this is so much more than a museum.
Yeah.
Like, the renderings are incredible.
Yeah.
It looks like there's going to be an actual arena inside this Hall of Fame. Can you talk about that?
There definitely will be. And as we, the idea started with just a museum. And it kind of has morphed into something a bit bigger. But if we want to have full impact on the game and grow the game, what better to have a rink? And so we'll have a state-of-the-art rink that's actually sunken into the ground, which will be first of its kind. The renderings, like you said, ESG has done those. They're terrific. We wanted to kind of pay homage to the northern rinks that have the wood and the old school barn feel.
Love that.
And so for us, it's important to have activations. Not only do we want to have, mite jamborees and squirt tournaments and stuff like that and grow the game, but we have over 150 ambassadors. Ambassadors are current, former players that have played the game who have made an impact. It could be a made impact on the ice as far as a player, or maybe they played D3, but now they're reffing or coaching a team, and they're still making an impact. We have 150 of those ambassadors supporting this initiative. And the goal is that when these little boys and girls come to the rink, or even medium-sized and large-sized boys and girls come to the rink, they're inspired. And that they're going to have ambassador presence. So maybe you're going to have Christy Wendell on one bench coaching a Mike Jamboree.
Wow.
And Jamie Langenbrunner or Paul Martin on the other bench. And
Incredible.
so just have those real-life heroes on the bench growing the game, or on the ice growing the game. It's really important for us that at the end of the day, the hockey world is a small community, and I think so much of us want to give back and make the game even better than what it is now, if that's possible. But we're certainly going to try, and it's really important for us.
That's so awesome how much you guys are giving back to the sport that gave you so much.
That's what it's all about. I mean, hockey has opened up the doors for me in so many different ways. And I've been to different countries and seen so many things I wouldn't have been able to if it wasn't for the sport of hockey. So I think we're all indebted to it, and we're all grateful for it. And again, the hockey community is so small at the end of the day, and we just want to give back and again, give back to the game that gave us so much. And if we can leave it better than when we found it, that's the whole goal.
I love that. And as we've been mentioning this whole time, like, you have such a history here and as a hockey player. So certainly you'll be celebrated in this museum in some way. Do you know how your history will be incorporated and your mark will be put on this Hall of Fame?
Oh gosh, I'm not thinking about that. You know, we're hopefully just, trending to making this reality, which it's getting there every single day. So we hope to put a shovel in the ground next summer, and then it'll be open 2 years from then. So, but as far as the two biggest questions we get asked are, number one, location, and number two, how will you do the induction classes? I will not be one of the first ones to go on. We have so much history and people that need to go in and backlog it. But I think the fun part is when I talked about earlier of being maybe one of the only 5 ponytails in the state playing at the time, it's just going to be so awesome that right now when you go into rinks, you see ponytails full of teams. And the fact that, they're going to see this Hockey Hall of Fame go up. And that's another thing, like you mentioned, I didn't have a professional league to strive for. Maybe this is something that little boys and girls, they come in, get inspired, and go, I want to be so good that I'm on the walls of the Hockey Hall of Fame or I get inducted. And so that's the whole goal. But as far as me, I think it's going to leave a bigger legacy when we get this going, that I left my mark on establishing a hub for Minnesota hockey. I think that will be more important, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I love what you said, because that's so true. Like, this Hall of Fame creates a new dream for kids. You mentioned briefly the two most important questions of the site and when it's going to be built. Can you give us any details on, you said hoping to put a shovel in the ground next summer?
Yep.
Any site ideas?
Yeah, we had our announcement in middle of August, and since that, there's been a tremendous amount of excitement. We've had over 10 cities reach out to us and say, hey, we have land, we have a spot for you. We want to be the home of the Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame.
Awesome.
So before the announcement, we had to get down to about 2 or 3. And so after the announcement, we went back to the drawing board and said, okay, let's re-examine this. I am excited to say we are down to 2 cities. I can say it will be in the metro area along 494 are the 2 cities. And we're in the process right now of narrowing it down to those 2 cities. But if you literally ask me which one I want, I couldn't pick a favorite. They both have their positives. They both will be great sites for the Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame. So we are super excited to continue the talks with those cities. And we hope that we have an announcement between Thanksgiving and Christmas where that location will be.
Awesome. So soon.
Yeah, so soon.
And it's just great to hear it's going to be an accessible spot.
Yep, 100%.
Let's take a quick turn in our conversation. We're going to ask a little rapid fire, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
We're just going to have fun with it. Okay, so Natalie, favorite team as a kid?
Favorite team as a kid, the Minnesota North Stars.
Love it.
Yeah.
Favorite team now?
Favorite team now? Oh, gosh. I'm terrible at current events because I'm so enthralled with my kids' sports right now. I feel like we're never home.
It can be your kids' team.
I'll go with my kids' teams, but let's go with the Lynx.
Lynx,
Yeah.
love it. Current hype song?
Right now, we're big into playing knee hockey in the basement, and I've somehow stumbled upon Dia Lupa, And my kids and us get down to levitating all the time. I don't know. It's an older song, but we're into
levitating
it. Yeah.
is an earworm.
We're
it's
just
so good.
anytime that comes on, the pace picks up. We're dancing and moving. So Dia Lupa right now on Spotify, the playlist, best hits.
That whole album is incredible.
Yeah. So that's what we got going right now.
Love it. That's a good one.
So it's not current, but that's what we're diving
okay.
to.
She's timeless. Thinking back to your playing days, what was your pregame ritual?
Oh, my pregame ritual. I was a big pregame napper. So for me to get a little hour nap in was huge. My dad is really good at making spaghetti and meatballs. That was my pregame meal. And then when I got to the rink, it was tape my stick. And I wasn't really into rituals and making sure I had to, put things on a certain way. But I love tossing the football around with a couple teammates and just kind of running some football routes and then get my stuff on and go. So.
Love that. What's your joy outside of the rink, outside of Hall of Fame work? What excites you these days when it's not hockey involved?
Oh, we just passed the season, but I love our Minnesota lakes. Just swimming in them, surfing, fishing, just being around the lakes and our beauty that we have here. Just nothing is more zen and calms me and brings me peace than being on the lake.
I agree.
Yeah.
When you get that first dunk of the season, it's the best. It's magical. And what's one piece of advice that always stuck with you?
Oh, goodness. In the hockey world, it's a kid's game. I think sometimes we can get wrapped up in wins, losses, and how you played. At the end of the day, it's a kid's game. Ask yourself why you play and put that in perspective. And honestly, I think that could translate to every part of life is you don't always need to be serious and have a timeline and have expectations. You just be yourself and everything should be fun and just take a deep breath.
We all need that reminder.
I have to remind myself about 20 times a day. So it's not like I'm an expert at it by any means.
How often are you still lacing up your skates?
Well, quite a bit. I still am involved in coaching. So I coach both my son's teams. I have a squirt and a mite in the Prior Lake Association. I still do small group lessons. So right now with hockey season kicking off, it's probably 5 times a week.
Wow.
Which is fine. I still love it. I enjoy it. People always ask you, are you putting on the pads? And it's like, no, I don't have time for that. But I'd love to kind of get involved in a adult league again and get out there and sweat and have some exercise and have some fun. So hopefully in the future.
How lucky are those little Prior Lake kids?
I don't think they have a clue. They don't have a clue.
As their coach?
Yeah, they don't have a clue. They're just like, Natalie yelled at me and I have my mouth guard in. So, no, I don't think they have a clue.
I will say one time I met your family at the Tria rink, and I think you guys were doing a Thanksgiving skate.
Oh, Christmas.
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 Is that a tradition?
Yes, we do a tradition every New Year's, give or take, the day or day after. We have a family skate. So we usually do it. I live close to Prior Lake, so we usually go on the outdoor ice, but I think the time we probably saw you was probably too cold or so we were at Tria, so we would have a good relationship with those guys, so would rent an hour of ice, and we always just have all the kids out there buzzing around and uncles come out, and it's just a good time. So it's become a tradition.
You've mentioned your boys a couple times.
Yeah.
I know that maybe the players don't realize they have a Hall of Famer coach, but do your boys recognize who their mom is and ask you for pointers as they're growing their own hockey careers?
So my youngest Zach, just didn't want to play hockey for the longest time. He's now currently 8. And so last year I was inducted last November into the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto. And I think after they saw the glitz and the glamour and the highlight videos that happened there, I think it kind of made sense to them. And then Zach was like, I'm going to play hockey. And I used to wear the bubble, the iTech. And he's like, and I want an iTech and I want to wear my skates and my equipment like you. So I think they realize it now. And then we were just at an event. Waggle had their grand opening. They're actually a partner of the Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame. And we went up to it. And Zach and Joseph were like, do you think you'll sign autographs? Do you think you'll get noticed? And I was like, no. And sure as shoot, 3 or 4 kids were like, hey, can I get a picture with you? So I think sometimes they just see that, but at the end of the day, I'm mom and that's more important. But there's certain times where they realize that if I'm in a rink, I think I'm more going to get noticed than if I'm just in a grocery store and somewhere.
Taylor Heisey said the same exact thing. She's just it's a context thing.
Yeah.
If I'm in the rink, I'm famous.
Yeah.
If I'm at the grocery store, no one knows who I am.
Bingo. Yeah, exactly.
Are you raising your boys to be big fans of women's sports? Because their kids today are so lucky that they are growing up with so many more female athletes to look up to than we did as kids?
You segued with Taylor. My boys, when I coached at the U, they grew up there's if I look back in my phone, there's pictures with her on the bench. And so when we went out to that Waggle event, Taylor Heisey has a Waggle hat now with her celebration pose on it. And my kid made absolutely no judgment. He's like, I want this hat. Not realizing, oh, there's a woman on this hat. And so he knows no different. I love that. They grew up at the rink with me, seeing great female hockey players, not knowing, and I even said female, not knowing that they're female hockey players. They just look at them as hockey players. And I think we're on the right track in that sense. And even, I'm a female coaching boys, a squirt team and a mite team. And they're not looking at me as, well, you can't coach me, you're a girl. I think that's probably happening maybe in the stands more than it's happening on the ice. And that's just, I think, a sign of the times that we're getting there. Maybe it's baby steps in certain aspects. But to me, that's growth, and I'll take it for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I always feel a little emotional when I go to Lynx games or Frost games and I see tons of little boys in the crowd.
It's awesome.
And they have no idea that they're the difference between cheering for Ant and cheering for Nafisa Collier.
Yep, absolutely.
It's refreshing.
It's very refreshing. Yeah.
Speaking of women's hockey, it's really taken off in Minnesota. We're about to enter the third season of the PWHL. You were once the general manager of the Frost. What's your relationship with the program now and the league and all that?
Yeah, obviously, as a little girl, we didn't have this. And so first and foremost, want this to succeed. Like you said, the fact that little girls can now go to games, and not only that, but college players now can go, you know what, I don't have to end my career at 23 years old. I have an opportunity to prolong that. It's long overdue. It's sad to say that what took so long was just financial backing. Money, you got to have money. And so I think that's the most disappointing thing, that it took so long just because of finances. But thankfully it's there now, and hopefully, just like the Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame, when we open our doors, people are going to go, I can't believe this never existed. Hopefully in 10, 15 years, people are going to go, this only existed for this long? This should have been around forever. And so obviously, want this to succeed for all the little boys and girls, that they can go to games and dream. But like the WNBA, hopefully the PWHL can follow in their footsteps of how successful they've been, how their contracts and salaries are growing, how the fan base is growing. I think soccer and basketball are probably, setting the bar to that, and hopefully women's hockey can match that level one day.
Even though you're not directly involved in the league anymore, are you still championing it? And
Absolutely.
Getting your sons at games? What's your kind of involvement with the league still?
Absolutely. Well, it's certainly with our schedule with youth sports these days and how crazy it is. It's hard to go to any other games other than your own. But if it's on TV and it's accessible, we're supporting it and watching it and doing all we can to take me out of the equation. I would support it. So that's certainly what we're going to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Will the Frosts have a pretty big presence in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. Again, one of the wings is going to be professional. And so there's a lot of representation of Minnesota players in the PWHL. And so that's obviously going to be a highlight of ours, just like it would be the Minnesota-born representation in the NHL. So we're going to match and mirror both sides, and there will be a strong representation. I think one of the cool things that, Minnesotans love is the pride that your own are successful, and that's what this Hall of Fame is doing. It is honoring the Minnesota-born, raised players that have made strides and have become successful in this sport, and that's what we're highlighting.
That's a really good point, that it's not just the Minnesota Frost. There's so many Minnesotans that are just in the league.
Bingo. And that's why, again, there's a need for this Hall of Fame, right? There's Abby Boreen, who was at Montreal last year, who started with the Minnesota team, was at Montreal, and now she's at Vancouver. The stats of the Minnesota-born players, and even, so take someone like TJ Oshie, wasn't really born here, but played here. He's Minnesotan.
Yeah,
right?
We own him.
Lou Nanny, he's Minnesotan. He lives here now, there's a restaurant. There's those outliers that are Minnesotans, that even though they weren't born here. So that's what the Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame is. It's highlighting those players. And not only that, that's why we want the community level in the high school level, is because it reaches a broader we want a boy or girl to come in and see their community jersey on the wall, to see that they were state champs and have their community jersey on the wall, whether that's, Minnetonka or Woodbury. We want to highlight those, that everyone's a part of this and they can feel pride representing their state. So.
Well, I cannot wait till the doors open in 2 years. And you've mentioned it a lot in this conversation that you just want something for little girls and little boys to look up to. When you certainly have a young fan base, you mentioned it that at the Waggle event. What's your message to young players that look up to you today? Like when you get an opportunity to have a conversation with them, what's something important that you'd make sure you tell them?
Yeah, I think something that was instilled with me in hockey is, I woke up and hockey was on my mind. I was passionate about it. I loved it. Find something that you love. If that is hockey, it shouldn't be like a chore for you to go shoot pucks or stick handle or grab your buddies and play roller hockey. So it has to be fun. If you have fun and you're passionate about it, all those things that get better it's going to be enjoyable, not work, so to speak. And so it sounds cheesy, but it's just like have fun. And that may not be hockey at the end of the day, but find what speaks to you and makes you want to get up in the morning and get out of bed and go do it. So, because it's not always going to be easy. I think at the young ages it's fun, but once you get into middle school and high school, it becomes more demanding and there's more stress. And if it's not fun, then go find something that really makes you feel alive.
Great advice. We end every episode with 2 questions.
Sure.
Who is the sports sis that you are hyping these days?
I have 2, if that's okay.
Go
on a
for it.
large scale, Becky Hammond, who she was in a man's world for so long, has come over to the women's world and has just crushed it. And just everything she has to say, from media, post-game interviews to, podcasts, she's just on point. And she speaks authentically. She speaks to the point. She's not worried about ruffling feathers. She's just somebody that has absolutely propelled that game. And so want to hype her. Another person I want to hype is behind the scenes, Erica McKenzie at the Minnesota Wild. She's in ticketing, just someone who's been at the Wild for so long, who, again, so a lot of these front office people that you don't hear about just have grown the game, the initiatives that she's done as far as grassroots stuff and community activations and what she does for the Wild as a female kind of in a male world. Just want to hype up that because it's not always easy to be in a predominantly male environment, and she's been very successful on the Wild front, and obviously the Grand Casino Arena is full every night, and that she's a big reason why. So just want to hype her. And she was a former player at Hastings, was Miss Hockey, played at the University of Minnesota for hockey, and was with the U.S. national team for a while. So has the background and has done a phenomenal job in an admin front office position.
Awesome. Those people need more flowers.
Yeah.
So thank you for saying that. And lastly, Natalie, what's your why? Why do you do this still?
At the end of the day, I just, if I can impact one person and help them out or grow the game in any way, I think it's my why. It's to be a positive representation that hopefully a real life example that you can do it if you follow your dreams. And there's a lot of more representation out there to follow. So my why is to make the game more accessible and to grow the game even more than it is.
Awesome.
So
thank you so much for being here. We are so excited for the Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame and all the announcements to come. Location announcement around Christmas time. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Women in Sports, a weekly conversation with your favorite female athletes. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next week.